Yeah, just read them.
Okay, President Felix Padilla, President, Pam Harris, Vice President, Roger Padilla, Treasurer, Sarah Turner, Secretary by Skype, Manuel Ortiz, Board Member, Sharon Dryden, Association Member, Bob Blair, Community Member, Fernando Martinez, Association Member, Phaedra Greenwood, Community Member.
Okay, excuse me right now. Excuse me. Is this meeting for the members of the association or for anybody?
Okay, let me...
We are following the...
Because, I mean, with all respect to all of you here.
Okay, Manuel. As far as the Openness Meeting Act, anybody can come here.
Even if you're not a member?
Yes,
Yeah.
but the ones that are non-members cannot say nothing. They can
Don't
listen.
matter.
They
It
can
don't
listen,
matter, I
but
don't
they can't
think
say
so,
nothing.
but I mean...
And basically, and it's not even that they can't
It's
say
not
anything.
that
No, it's not even that they
Okay,
can't
well,
say.
come here next to me, okay?
Oh, no.
Yes.
Manuel, sit down before, let me explain something. At open meetings, you are allowed to listen and observe. You do not participate. This is a regular meeting of our board, so our board is the participators.
Where does it say that?
I will get it for you right here, my dear. Seems you.
I was interested in mitigation well and stuff, and I thought that's what this meeting was.
This has nothing to do with the
But
mitigation.
this has nothing to do with mitigation wells.
Then I apologize for being here. Gary Kaufman told me that that's what this meeting was about, and that's why I came. I didn't.
Nora, that is what it's about.
No,
It
it's
has nothing
not.
to do with
It
it.
has nothing to do with the mitigation wells.
The joint powers of agreement.
It has nothing to do with the
All
mitigation
it deals
wells.
with water.
It deals
Hear
with...
why it says.
Okay, we will. When we get to it, we are going through our usual business. Unfortunately, we just lost Manuel. Here is the sections that,
Can I ask a question?
yeah?
This is the email I got, okay? And it just says, if you are on the Water Association, be sure and come to the meeting Monday at 6 p.m. This will be at the firehouse as a follow-up meeting.
It's
Hopefully
not
a
a
vote.
follow-up meeting to begin with.
It's not a follow-up from the last one that we all came to?
No, it's not. This is our regular
This is our regular board meeting.
Our regular
That's not
board
what the
meeting.
email said.
I did not send out,
Fedra and
no.
Lori were the ones that
Okay.
sent that out.
Calm down.
We did not send that email
No,
out.
I did, I sent it.
Okay.
Okay,
Because you're on our ditch association.
okay.
And so if you're on the upper thing, and you're a member, I just said you might want to come. We're going to talk, I thought, about the power of attorney
Right.
document that was
It's not a
presented
power
last
of
time.
attorney.
Okay.
And it's in relationship to the Abeyta settlement.
It is in terms of water rights.
acquisition.
Water acquisition, and that's
And I
it.
wrote that on the email, that it's in regards to
Nothing
water
is going to be
acquisition.
discussed about mitigation wells or anything tonight. New business, Open Meetings Act. Pam accused the board of violating the Open Meetings Act by going into executive session with our attorney to discuss the acquisition of water rights per the Abeyta settlement at our special meeting on May 2nd. In addition, she accused Sarah Turner of being in violation as she had spoken with our attorney, Mary Humphrey, and had received a copy of the joint powers agreement in advance of the meeting. Sarah Turner denied this was a violation and ended the Skype connection. For the purposes of discussion of what we were doing, we went into executive session as per the allowances in the Open Meetings Act. So we have issues here. And obviously, we're not going to change these, but
And we were presented with a contract that we hadn't read and asked to sign it.
we were presented and we
Well, as it turned
agreed.
out, we signed it anyway. So, no.
We agreed to put it off so that you could have an additional meeting, which you did. There we go.
Specifically. The thing that I'm concerned about is,
Mr. President, Felix, what's your position on this?
My position is that we should vote on it right now. Besides, before we start, we could talk about this all night long.
Yeah.
So we're here to make a decision. We're not here to discuss it. We had 2 meetings already. We had a meeting, where everybody went and expressed their whatever they have to say. Right now, we're here not to discuss it. We're here to vote on it.
And just for clarification on this vote that the board will do, with accepting that 2.2 11 household
Or acre feet.
acre feet of water, does that put us in the position of having to drill the deep wells?
No,
It doesn't.
it doesn't.
We're just requiring water rights, 2.02.
Just water.
That's all we're doing.
And it's not specific in that contract.
That's all
Are
we're
you going to
doing.
get it clarified?
I have talked to various people, they have told me that this is only about
That's just
water
acquiring,
rights.
we're just acquiring
This is not,
2.02.
this is not, has anything to do with mitigation wells, whatever. And in fact, at this stage of the game, they are working on an implementation and planning so that they can start having meetings to discuss the mitigation. This has nothing to do with the mitigation well. As far as I'm concerned, this is just keeping 2.02 acres of water here in our little Hondo Valley.
Sarah.
An additional.
Sarah, two acre feet, you said, would feed 11 or 12 houses?
Yeah, every year.
Okay, and Fernando says we have 26 acre feet total?
Total, yeah.
Okay, so that would be somewhere around 140 houses. How many houses are being serviced right now?
We have approximately 70. We really would love if we could expand, because if we have more members or more people on our system.
Okay, but we currently have the capacity to double what we have now without entering into this agreement, correct?
True. But at the same time, this is also a little bit of something to keep in the back pocket if we ever needed it, because there might come a time later down the road when we get into issues that we might have to buy or to put in some heavy-duty infrastructure, and at that time we might be able to negotiate where we do a water lease within here, within Taos County, that would bring us in some additional money to handle that. And this way we would never be touching our original 26 acre feet that were given to us. This is kind of like a little insurance in the back pocket.
Are you saying
Okay.
they are not going to want to drill a well in Upper Arroyo?
No, they're not drilling a well
Not
yet.
drilling a well.
Not here. We are not talking about, there's nothing in here that says anything that we're going to drill a mitigation well. This is all about water rights and for our mutual domestics.
Just who had so many battles with everybody, most of the entities that you're dealing with right now over the Rio Hondo, only to just be schmoozed and just totally destroyed all
Yeah.
the way through, you know. And so you, granted that this sounds good and it's all good, but there's a lot of people in here who have been through the ringer with all this stuff.
Yeah.
Sarah,
Well, the water is coming out of the Rio Hondo, I'll tell you that.
Okay, this well was put in when? Was it 65 or?
How old?
61.
61.
The top one and the 95,
Okay, so
the
that's-
bottom, the 95.
That's 40, that's almost 55.
It's almost 50 years.
50,
and
50 years, and we've had 70 members in 50 years, and we're at half of our capacity in terms of water rights. I'm trying to take a look at the whole picture, because if we get new people coming in, they can also drill their own wells. You know, and there's going to be a tendency to do that more and more, rather than to tie into a system that has uranium or.
Well, here's the deal. First off, one of the issues I think that's probably going to come up eventually is, I think soon the Office of State Engineer, and they're going to start looking at well permits. I have a funny feeling this is going to be coming about because of how they're going to be shifting water throughout the county. I mean, basically in our little plateau.
The thing is that there's a set amount, 2,900,000, and what was it, 145 acre feet. By the time that we get it, we're only eligible, and people like Mary Humphreys, Palemon Martinez, they had a lot of shuffling to do at the upper levels, and we're basically getting the dregs here. 2 acre feet is not a whole lot. That 2 acre feet corresponds to so much from the 2.9 million also. And they already have administrators, they already have Desmontes on board to to basically run the program, that we're getting the dregs. We have no say in anything, and 2 acre feet is really just going to put us under their. It's going to put us under their control even more so.
No, it's only control for the purchase of the thing. We won't be under their
Right.
control for anything
But can we
else.
can we subcontract? We can also
One more
subcontract.
question from Pam, and
We
then
can also subcontract. We can contract for those 2 acre feet on our own.
If I'll tell you what, if you want to come up with that kind of money, we don't have that kind of money. And here's the deal, and the reason why we only got 2.02 acre feet was because the Office of State Engineer was extremely generous to us back in the 70s when they set that up.
The lead agency shall file requisition forms as necessary with the Interstate Stream Commission to transfer funds from the purchase of the water rights, shall sign contracts with the contractors necessary to perform professional services necessary for the transfer of the water rights into each of the parties' respective wells, for the payment of invoice of contractors who have been retained by the executive committee and set forth below. We don't even have a voice in that, and it's not clear what wells. We need to find out the wells that were talked about at the meetings,
You know what?
because I went to some of them. They talked about a deep well here.
Yes, there eventually,
All right.
there might
All right,
be,
it's enough. It's enough.
when and if the time comes, there may be a chance that we, as a group, will decide, but it will be us, as well as all 3 of our acequias will decide on the mitigation well. We've been, when they talk about mitigation wells, they throw in our name, basically, because we would, in effect, if there was a mitigation well, handle it, because we already handled this kind of stuff for our well up here. One of the ways, one of the options was, and this is what they put in originally, was, and this was back when we were looking at ways to mitigate the uranium. One of the options was, if we could wait long enough, and this still is way down the road, that we could, as the Upper Arroyo Hondo Domestic Water Association, take water from that deep well and put it up in our tanks so that we could do this, and this way we would get rid of our uranium issue. The problem was, we were under a consent decree with the EPA, and we had to have that done by February 2016, which we've done. So now that's kind of off the table. So really what we're looking at is really what the acequias want, what it will work for them. But we're nowhere near even discussing that. They haven't even brought that up. Believe me, the day they come to us with something like that, we will make sure that we're working with the acequias, the Atalaya, Medio, and Llano. It makes no sense for us not to. In this case, it's simply water rights that we're allowed to in effect, pump from our current wells. That's it.
Okay, one more question to be back.
It's a pretty general question, and it's kind of might be insulting to Fernando, but you know, him and Nick got bamboozled, no? And they didn't have an attorney look at them when we signed off on that Abeyta water settlement. You know what I mean? And so, do we have an attorney look at this stuff?
No, at this stage of the game, it's been adjudicated. We have no standing. We couldn't go anywhere.
Not the Abeyta, but like this, that you guys are going to go with a 2.2 acre?
We have the same attorney that's the Abeyta attorney.
Yeah, and let me put it this way. Even if we could, what would we try and change?
Mary Humphreys.
What would we try and change about the agreement? Who gets, who's going to negotiate the amount of money that we want to negotiate ourselves? The Interstate Stream Commission's already said, this is how we want it to run. They gave the framework was created, and this is how it's going.
Does it hurt to have some of this clarified?
Well, who would clarify it?
We should see, I can't understand why when we weren't allowed to see it, you're the only one that had it. Wait a minute, I'm still talking. And the next day you sent it to me. why we weren't allowed to see it before Mary was pushing us to sign it. And she got so mad that she threw it on the table and she went out and was just,
Okay, here's the
Okay,
deal.
okay,
Let
you know
me
what?
explain the reason why I got to see it before everybody else. I was on the island of Bonaire, and I've been Skyping the minutes to take, Skyping the meeting so I could take the minutes. So I talked to her, she sent me a copy of it, she explained to me what it was, and so I got a copy ahead of time. I did not look at it until the day of our meeting, and she brought a copy for everybody. And
no,
at
she
that,
didn't. You weren't there.
okay, I
You were on
I
Skype.
presumed that she brought a copy for everybody. And at that meeting, we agreed to put it off and have further discussion, which is what we did.
And what we need to do now, I am making a motion that this not be done just by the board, but that the members have a say in this.
Second that. April.
Second.
I'll second.
This is a board meeting. You guys, this is not an annual meeting, it's not open, it's a board meeting.
According-
So it's the board has to, it goes with these motions, et cetera. We're not at an annual meeting, we're not at a special meeting, whatever. This is a regular board meeting of the Upper Arroyo Hondo Domestic Water Association.
And motions can be made. Is that what you're saying?
Motions can be made. Where's on the loss?
On the what?
On the
But I
board.
can make a motion for the board. So is that saying that all of you are for this?
It would help, Sarah, to know who the seller is, where the water rights are coming from, because...
At this stage of the game,
Let me just finish. Well, let me just finish. Because, this adjudication has taken a long time. There's been a lot of parties. There's been a lot of conflicts of interest. Now, Arroyo Seco got water rights from Cuesta. They were up in arms. There's water being transferred from watershed to watershed. It seems that, for me, I would like to know who the seller is and what watershed it's coming from.
It was explained to us that at this stage of the game, because they're still in, they haven't even started negotiations, that the seller is to remain confidential, and if we were to do that, we would be, if we were to say who the seller was, we would be in breach.
Okay, we have an annual meeting in August. Can this wait till August?
Well, the problem is, we've been told that we need to get this done by the end of the month, because they need to get started.
By Mary?
Yes.
Yes, but can I ask a question? Well, I'm Sharon. And
Yeah, I know
I'm
you're
your
Sharon.
neighbor. Anyways, so Mary Humphries, I met her one time. She seemed very nice, but it just seems really strange that she represents the Upper Arroyo Hondo water, our water, and then she's also on the joint power agreement, and then she wants to be a manager.
Hold it. No one has said she wants to, no one said she's going, no, not, as far as I know, not yet.
We've heard it.
Well, there's a lot of things called rumor too around here, and we know that there's a lot of fake news that is out there these days.
What did Donald Trump call that?
Yeah, it's called fake news, or it's alternative facts. And there are a lot of alternative facts without anything, because if someone says something and it gets embroidered and it gets over and over and over.
A decision will be made. We're going to vote on it.
Not to wait.
We're not going to wait.
Why can't the membership get involved? And what is the rush? Like Alfred said, why can't we wait a little bit more to look into it a little bit more?
Just a little.
Okay, I'll tell you what. We might be willing to do it, but only if, where there's no discussion of a mitigation well at all at our annual meeting. This is only about water rights. There is no saying, oh, well, if we sign on to this, it means that we agree to the... No, this is just about that, and that's it.
And you can't Mary Humphrey over here.
Yes, we can, because what'll happen is, as usual, because you tried to have a meeting to discuss two things on your agenda, and it got out of control, and everybody else wanted to talk
According
about...
to Mike.
Well, other people told me also, talk about the mitigation system, etc.
Sarah, where can't members see the contract?
Here.
No, I mean, every member, all 70. Is there a rule against that? I don't understand.
No, she passed it out.
I guess I didn't see it.
So it wasn't sent to each member, it was passed out at that last meeting.
I'm not a member of this association.
Then you
I am
can't
a
speak.
member of
I'm
all-
sorry.
Yes,
Can't
Mr.
speak.
President, may I speak?
Okay, go ahead, you're not a member.
Okay, I've clarified that I'm not a member of this association. I am a member of the Lower Hondo Association. I'm also have been involved with the Abeyta settlement case as well as the mitigation issues as well. And I don't know how truly familiar you really are with this resolution that is being given to you for signing and approval. There are a lot of questions about this. It's very unclear. You have a project manager who wants to be the project manager, who is the attorney for this association right now. That's a conflict of interest. By law, I have been involved with law for many, many years. So therefore, you are the board who represent the members. The members have a right to direct the board and take a vote on what is to be approved by this board. Otherwise, you're bypassing the membership. And although you believe that the mitigation wells have nothing to do with this, if you read the Abeyta settlement case, it's very clear that the mitigation wells do play a role in this whole activity. And so, when the mitigation wells do come up and are sunk, it's going to require a lot of expense to your system. It's going to require tremendous expense to you in terms of how much you're going to pay to pump these wells. It's going to require tremendous expense to maintain these wells and to have an operator for them that is completely certified and all of that. So you are going to be placing an undue burden on your association and on your members, because I've just heard you say that you already have a tremendous debt for your association, and in order to continue to do anything else, you would have to borrow money, which would increase the rates for your membership. That being the case, when these mitigation wells do go, which are part of this Abeyta settlement case, I'm sorry to tell you that, but they are, you will assume a great responsibility. I have spoken to people within the Kit Carson Electric board. I've listened to meetings on the mitigation wells, which have been clarified as to the thousands of dollars that it will cost to operate these wells, which in the Abeyta settlement case does specify that your association, among other ASECAs and everybody else, will be responsible for those expenses. And so I urge you, before you sign this resolution, you need to find out a lot more about it. For instance, you have no idea how much this project manager is going to be charging to be the project manager. You have no idea how much money is going to be taken for payment of attorney fees that would be representing the associations and everybody else involved. So you have absolutely no idea how much of this 2 million some point monies that are being given under this settlement are going to be left to carry on all of these expenses.
Now, if you have, let's say this Montes is getting, just off the top of my head, I'm going to say that they're going to get 25 acre feet, 20 acre feet, I don't know. That means they're going to pump that much more out of the aquifer, which is connected to the river system. It has an effect not only on our groundwater, it has an effect on our surface water. There's too many unknowns to make a decision at this point. Basically, at this point, Arroyo Hondo is being thrown a bone. We're being thrown a bone at this point. And here we are, like scrambling, like you know, like dogs, basically, to, yeah, are we gonna take this, or are we gonna have, you know, more dignity and refuse it? There's too many unknowns. Who the seller is, where the water rights are coming from, you know, why the decision came down to we have only 2 acre-feet. You know, maybe you should have been more engaged to begin with, you know, and gone to some of these meetings where we would be talking here maybe about, you know, 8 acre-feet. You know, we could have been here talking about 8 acre-feet where it might have been something significant. But there's too many unknowns, there's too many questions to really make a decision, I think.
All right, we're gonna close discussions. We're gonna make a decision now.
So my question is, if we want to get the whole membership to make the decision, what are we going to do? Are we going to go to each house and ask them? Because obviously you call meetings and they don't come to the meeting. I mean, the majority, so what? How are we going to handle this?
I have a comment on that there. I have never received any information from the board about any meeting. I got information from this lady who is not a member about this meeting.
Well,
I don't
you go
get
to the-
information.
Do you go to the post office?
Yeah, I go to the
We
post
post our,
office.
this isn't a special meeting, this is our regular board meeting, which why we want to get going, because we have to do a budget and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is not a meeting to discuss water rights, this is not a meeting to discuss for those purposes. This is our normal meeting where we have to get through.
Where members have the right to be at this meeting.
To answer your question, it's posted in the post office, and every second Monday of the month, we have meetings. All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Where does it say in the bylaws? I didn't look that up to see that the members can't vote except for in August.
It's in the articles.
It's in the articles, and it is,
This is
the board, the business and affairs of the shall be managed by the board of directors, all of whom shall be the members, you know, blah, blah. And so basically, it's when we bring things, it's at the annual meeting that people can vote on a variety of things.
Where does it say you can't vote for other meetings?
At the board meeting, this is a board meeting.
This is a board meeting. Where does it say the members can't vote at a regular board meeting? I understand.
Only the members, this is a board meeting, only board members may vote at the board meeting.
Where does it say that?
I found out about your meeting at the post office, which indicated to me that it's an open meeting, and so therefore I came as a result of that. You know, I know that I'm not a member of your association to vote for, but I as a member of the public, I can come in and but your members can and should be able to vote.
The board of directors shall have the general power to act for the association in any manner not prohibited by the statute or the articles of incorporation. So our job as part of the articles of incorporation, as part of the Sanitary Projects Act, is that we can vote on issues of water rights, etc., and that's what the board does. Okay?
Sarah, I think we trust you guys on general business, but something this important needs to be looked into further, I think.
Well, my question is, how much longer do we keep looking into it?
When's the
How many
deadline?
minutes?
Is there a deadline?
Yeah, they wanted, yeah, they want.
Yeah, but they,
Have an
are
annual meeting
are
before
they a member of our water?
Basically, the executive group who's running this thing wants this to get done because they can't go in
And who's the executive group?
That's the people from El Prado, you know, the 5 that are in that thing. They want to be able to get in there and in order to actually begin to do the negotiations. They can't begin to negotiate if they don't know how many acre feet they are going to be negotiating for.
You're really put under duress as a board this executive committee is putting you guys under duress, which is also putting the membership at odds because we're all basically under duress, and that's not a way to make a decision. It really isn't.
Well, I'm willing to stick my neck out, and if people don't like it, they're more than willing. If, when we get up to the next board meeting,
But you're not
vote
an
me
attorney.
off.
Well, yeah, but we'll be done. We'll be in.
Yeah.
You're
But
not an
this-
attorney. The only one that has been advising us, except for going to meetings, is Mary Humphreys.
Okay, do you want to?
Wait a minute.
No.
What we're gonna do, all we're doing here is just acquiring 2.02 acre feet. This is just one step. There's more steps that go along with it. The next step, we stop it there too. It doesn't mean because this is the last step and then they do whatever they want. There's more steps that goes before all this gets done.
But this is the joint powers agreement, no?
Yeah.
That's
And
just,
this is just for them to negotiate for us.
But we're committing ourselves to the joint powers agreement with them.
Yeah, we're
Kinda like
we're
what
saying that
Fernando
we're
and Nick did with Abeyta.
we're allowing them to negotiate for us. That's all we're doing.
We have how many members here? Raise your hand. It would be nice just to see how many of these people are for it and how many
Well,
are against it.
partially, and the thing is you have to be in good standing, in other words, you can't owe us money in order to vote.
it's in the.
Sarah, I think we trust you guys on general business, but something this important needs to be looked into further, I think.
Well, my question is, how much longer do we keep looking into it?
When's the
How many
deadline?
min-
Long as
Is
we
there a
need
deadline?
to.
Yeah, they
August.
wanted, it- they wanted,
They want.
yeah, they want.
Yeah, but they,
Haven't had
Yeah.
a meeting
are
before
they,
they...
are they a member of our water?
Basically, the executive group who's running this thing wants this to get done because they can't go in
And
and
who's the executive group?
that's the people from El Prado, the five that are in that thing. They want to be able to get in there and in order to actually begin to do the negotiations. They can't begin to negotiate if they don't know how many acre feet they are going to be negotiating for.
You're really put under duress as a board. This executive committee is putting you guys under duress, which is also putting the membership at odds because we're all basically under duress, and that's not a way to make a decision. It really isn't.
Well, I'm willing to stick my neck out, and if people don't like it, they're more than willing. If, when we get up to the next board meeting,
But you're not
vote
an
me off.
attorney.
But yeah, but we'll be done. We'll be in.
Yeah.
You're
But
not an
this-
attorney. The only one that has been advising us, except for going to meetings, is Mary Humphreys.
Okay, do you want to?
Wait a minute.
No.
What we're gonna do, all we're doing here is just acquiring 2.02 acre feet. This is just one step. There's more steps that go along with it. The next step, we stop it there too. It doesn't mean because this is the last step and then they do whatever they want. There's more steps that goes before all this gets done.
But this is the joint powers agreement, no?
Yeah.
That's
And
just,
this is just for them to negotiate for us.
But we're committing ourselves to the joint powers agreement with them.
Yeah, we're
Kinda like
we're
what
saying that
Fernando
we're
and Nick did with Abeyta.
we're allowing them to negotiate for us. That's all we're doing.
Out of, okay, the 70 members, you say we're using roughly half of the total water rights that we have. How many of those 70s are actual users and how many of those 70s are water rights that have been bought and they're just basically paper water
Okay,
rights?
the 70 users are people that actually are using.
That are using.
We have approximately 101 members of, so there are about 30 that are either have got, that are non-use or attached non-use at this stage. We're now starting for the first time actually to charge by gallon, et cetera, by 1,000 gallons for water. We will.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna put it up for a vote. That's enough
Motion.
discussion.
I'd like to propose that we vote with the members just to see how it would go, and then vote with the board, if that's what you're insisting on.
Okay, only
I personally think that won't be right, because what about the people that aren't here and that are for it?
The members that are here have a voice.
Then we'll
But it's
see.
not
And then-
official,
and-
Pam. It's not
It's
official.
not
Why don't we
official.
wait for another meeting and make it official, so we can have time to educate more people, bring more people in. I'll go out and actively recruit people to come. I know a lot of the people here will too.
And I will too, and I don't know his name,
There's
but
nothing wrong with that,
I'll go out with you
I agree with
too.
you.
but to have a mock trial, I mean, mock vote now, doesn't accomplish anything. I think
Well-
most of us are, well, go ahead.
That's because I'm worried that the board is pushing it, that it voted on today, and that's coming from Mary Humphreys. You know, she's pushing it. Well, we shouldn't be pushing it. We need to investigate a few things.
That's been their MO all along, is,
Why don't you go ahead and make a motion, Albert, to postpone it and look into it?
I move, so
Okay.
So what we're gonna do is the next meeting, we will vote on it one way or another.
No. Here's what I suggest. I suggest this, that at our annual, we postpone it to our annual meeting. We have one person who gets up and can speak pro, and one person who can get up and speak con. End of story, and then people vote.
is
And
the lawyer going to be there?
if we have to, we can get Mary there to discuss it. We can get somebody else if you'd like.
If she comes in to discuss it or to be asked questions, I don't want her not to answer.
Yeah, no, she would be there, but she would get up to do that, but that's how we're going to do
Give
it.
me that bottom line, though.
Well, if you're...
It says, here's what it
The
says.
bottom line.
The bottom line is, what it says, if you read it correctly.
No, correctly to who?
No, listen.
Interpretation.
If the association shall, blah, blah, borrow, receive, or waive, grant any property in the United States, the state of New Mexico, through any of its agencies, the board shall pursue such management methods, including accountings and audits, as such agency may prescribe and must notify and get consent from the membership. That means if you're going to approve the accounting required by the agency.
Well, you interpret it one way.
And Mr. Romero, let me tell you, I've brought the Sanitary Projects Act, though I know that a lot of you guys like to think you know what I'm talking about.
You know, what we think is that we are from Hondo, and we should have Hondo's best interests. Not
No.
painters, and not Damberonis, and not anybody who can steal our water rights from us.
Mr. Romero, you're just misinformed.
But Mary, this is an illegal...
No, this is, it has to
That
be
Abeyta
posted
settlement
for
is
3 days.
misinformed.
It was posted, but it was posted on Sunday where you couldn't get into the post office. It was posted on Saturday where the post office was closed.
Ms.
at 5.
Harris,
Yes.
if you want to make a saying that this is not a legal meeting, that your retrospect is to write a written objection to the board.
Are you our attorney?
No, I'm an attorney for the
All right,
board.
but you are attorney?
Yes,
The Hondos Water Association.
yes.
Double
When
dipping.
did that
She
happen?
also works for the Abeyta.
No, I'm not for any of Beta. Pam, you should just take a little bit of time and read things and not just say things. Oh, it's here long enough to know a little bit. Not a lot. Only 40 years, only been here 40 years, but I can tell you, there's some misinformation and some misunderstandings. But this is a board meeting, and when the board's here, they can, if there's a quorum.
That means the president
Yeah,
and the vice president, and not only the secretary.
It means 3 of 5 is a quorum, Mr.
Oh,
Romero.
I'm not saying quorum, I'm saying speaker.
Does everybody know Mike Martinez?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you Mike Turner?
I'm Mike Martinez. I am president of the Lower Des Moines Water Association. And I'm also represent Lower Des Moines Water Association as a fiscal agent to manage the $2.9 million that were given to to the 11 mutual domestics to acquire this water rights. And that's all we're really here to talk about, is the very needed free water rights for our 11 mutual domestic water associations. Everything else is a separate issue.
There's a banker saying free?
Yeah, this is everybody that's here. Okay, and Michael Kaufman, we need you to sign in.
Sign on your phone.
It was put up at the post office on Friday and at Midtown Market on Saturday.
Phoenix, I have an objection. We don't have to follow through, but the fact is, a 3-day notice means 3 days that the entire group can see the notice. It was put up on Friday. Today is the meeting, and there's supposed to be 3. That's 72 hours.
So Saturday and Sunday doesn't count?
And Monday?
Saturday afternoon and Sunday don't count because the post office is closed.
Is it locked?
It's locked, and I had to call you to find out if they posted.
So then if it was Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Monday, that's 3 days, isn't it?
She said Friday afternoon.
No, I did it Friday morning. I did it at 8:30 in the morning on Friday.
It's closed on Sunday too.
Well, Pam, it doesn't matter because the relevant time is 72 hours before, which means 72 hours before when it got posted and 72 hours before now would be what time?
And it was all supposed to at Midtown.
It wasn't posted till Midtown till I called you. I called Roger or you because you weren't posting it at Midtown.
Yeah. There was 72-hour notice.
I'm forming a complaint about that.
Okay, Pam wants to complain.
Okay, this presentation is only to enter an agreement which is to make it easy to deal with the government agencies to get the funding to acquire 2.02 acre-feet of water rights, which was agreed to by your association in the Abeyta agreement, not only once but twice, and Mr. Martinez signed both times. I came to a meeting at this firehouse in 2004 and had a meeting with the community at that time, including Mr. Martinez, the Lacombs, a lot of people. At that time, there was agreement in this community to enter into the Abeyta agreement. Not only once, but again in 2012 after the agreement had been confirmed with the federal legislation. Okay? That's a done deal. That's not what this is about. This is not about mitigation wells. This is not, just let me finish. It's not about mitigation wells. It's not about the town of Taos. It's not about El Prado. It's about, and within the context of the Taos Pueblo water rights settlement, the 12 mutual domestics that were at litigation with the Office of the State Engineer, State of New Mexico, settled that litigation. If Mr. Martinez remembers, we had a 2-week trial in August of 2001. I almost brought your testimony, Fernando, about how people in the mutual domestics had been left short on the amount of water rights that the state engineer would recognize. Okay? It led to major disparities and inequities. So much so that people in Upper Des Montes, those communities got 4 acre-feet for 67 families, while people in Hondo got 120 acre-feet for 80 families. That was all this was, which was to remedy the inequities and the disparities in how the state engineer and the state of New Mexico dealt with the mutual domestics in Taos Valley. All right? The water rights, this is an agreement between, this is within the greater agreement, an agreement by the state of New Mexico to provide funds to the mutual domestics to correct those initial inequities. It's based on a formula from what were the then existing members in 2006 to assign a number to those number of families and then multiply it so that it would become what it should have gotten each association. And then what they were short, they would come up to get a little bit of money, a lot of money actually, to buy the water rights to bring it up so that that 2006 list of people that each association gave to me, I didn't go do it,
that they said that so every membership at that time could have the ability to get 0.35 acre feet per household. That's how the funding was. That's why there's these very odd numbers, because Upper Hondo the first time around got a pretty good water right. Lower Hondo got screwed. It was all based on the gallons per person per day that the state engineer would recognize. I've got files that said people like in Upper Des Montes files, they said those people don't need that much water. So that's why you have these weird numbers. Lower Hondo got more water rights because they were even screwed more than you guys were. I mean, you only get 2.02 because you did a pretty good job the first time around. Lower Hondo, no, because the state engineer by that time said no. El Salto, no. They said the state engineer by that time only recognized 15 gallons a person a day from some of the existing people when they signed up. This is all this JPA is about. It's not about the mitigation well. It's not about the town of Taos or El Prado getting production wells. It's as simple as that. I know that there's some misinformation and misunderstandings, but what my experience is, instead of asking questions, people just believe what somebody tells them. And I see that's no different than what's happening in Washington today. So I'm telling the JPA, that's what it's about today. It's all we're voting on. The way it's set up, the way this JPA is set up, and this was back in last fall, or maybe it was last May, the board approved a memorandum of understanding which would set it up that made an executive committee of the 5 associations that get the most water rights. And the reason they made the executive committee is because they're the ones that really need the water rights. When that's Llano Quemado and Talpa and Cañon, they got really screwed when it came around. And Upper Des Montes and El Salto. Those were the ones that got screwed. That's why the executive committee, because they thought people already volunteer their time. They don't want to have to volunteer additional time to go to meetings to figure out how to, one, find the water rights and deal with the Interstate Stream Commission to sign an agreement to enter into it. The first MOU had the county being the fiscal agent. The county was going to charge you 5% for that. After a while, the county, the new attorney said no, because they felt it would be a conflict of interest because the county has an ordinance that allows that their public welfare committee decide to protest or not. So the county said no, we can't do it. The executive committee went. Yeah, Town of Taos, we went shopping around since Town of Taos would do it. Town of Taos wanted 10 or 5, a lot of money to do it. There was another NGO, the Council of Government down in Pewaukee, they wanted a lot of money. We finally said, why are we going to spend extra money? Why don't we just get somebody local? Because the way the Joint Powers Agreement Act is set up, it's set up, that's a state law that says political subdivisions can make a joint powers agreement to let one agency be the lead agency to have to deal with the accounting and stuff, while the others can just sign on and let the one agency do all the work. The agreement is set up, though, that there's oversight by the executive committee so that everything stays transparent. Now, I've heard some rumors that people think people are getting rich off of this. And, you know, people who spread those rumors had better pay attention, because that's somewhat libelous. Nobody's getting rich off of this. The way the money is going to work is all the money that gets for the water rights purchase agreement and all that is going to go through a title company in town. No association gets money in their account at all, ever. All they do is authorize the Interstate Stream Commission to send money to pay for the water rights and then to pay what other administrative costs there are. The main administrative cost is a hydrologist who's going to run the model to figure out what is needed and what impacts there will be for new pumping, if any. Here there probably won't be. Down where Llano Quemado is going to get an extra 40 acre feet, there probably will be. So Llano Quemado will have to deal with those impacts. That's how the money gets going. It goes through a title company. Nobody sees any money. It's all wire transfers. Nobody makes money. It's just, and you know, Mr. Romero, maybe you can't imagine a world where people aren't out for themselves. That's what I'm seeing. which says a lot about you.
That's libel.
That's not libel at all.
You're accusing him.
No, I'm just saying it says a lot about it. That's all I'm saying. Nobody's making money on this. I've heard somebody say, I'm going to make a lot of money. You know, I haven't made a damn dime from this for about 8 years. And I can tell you, I've donated over 300 hours this year alone. And the only reason I do it is because I started this project because of the mutual domestics and the inequities and how our local communities were treated. So all of you that like to spread rumors, I hope you can go and just maybe try to think about that for a while. Some people do things. These people volunteer their time. I'm just saying that because there seems to be a lot of misunderstandings. The mitigation well is a totally different issue. And you may, some people be against it. I've heard outrageous things about what it is. And never have I heard anything from Pam's mouth about what it really, I mean, if you just read the settlement and take some time and ask some questions, you'll understand the structure of what's trying to happen. It's not some kind of deal that's trying to poison your water. And I mean, I'm not going to go into mitigation well, but I'm going to say if it ever gets built, which I'm not sure it ever will be, it won't be doing anything to hurt your water because it has to comply with both the Safe Drinking Water Act, if it pumps water for your mutual domestic, and if it ever pumps water into the river, it's going to have to comply with the Clean Water Act with a NIPDES permit. I mean, so that's down the road. But tonight, all we're talking about is the Joint Powers Agreement and whether this association wants to enter into it. If you don't, it's no skin off my back. All it means is that money won't get spent. It'll go right back into the state coffers. That's all it means. It doesn't mean Abeyta's going to be destroyed or anything. Abeyta is a done deal. I mean, I don't know if you think you can fight it. At some point, this association is going to have to reconcile itself to the fact that you signed off on it twice and that you are a settling party. So that's my presentation. I will, you know, if you have questions and legitimate questions and not just something, I'm here to answer questions because I have a little knowledge about how associations work. I represent 40 mutual domestics over the state, all over the state. I'm not in here for any other reason. So if any of the people here have a question, I'd first like to take your question first because I spent 3 hours answering questions from Pam Harris, and I am going to charge the association for that.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did. So, Dr. Kaufman.
Make sure I understand. So the money's there, and all we're voting on is to allow some organization to manage it.
It is not even that. The money is there, and here, have you seen it? It's a pretty simple agreement. Who's going to end up really managing is the Interstate Stream Commission, because that's where the money, it's flowing through there. The state legislature has already appropriated it. That's fully appropriated now. We're working on with the executive committee, working with the Interstate Stream Commission, get the grant funding agreement, which has a lot of blah, 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 and an escrow agreement to show how the money will flow through the title company to pay for everything. It's not going to go in and out of any association's bank account.
So I'm clear is that our association won't have to have other meetings or whatever. It's going to be set up that we get the amount of water that we have through this other thing. I mean,
Yes.
my concern was that we're giving up some of our powers to some other organization, control of our own water.
No, and no, the water, what happens, you'll own the water. What happens when this is done and all there's 3 agreements that have to be signed, and the Interstate Stream Commission said we would rather deal with one entity than 11. Because can you imagine 11 trying to come in there? There's a funding agreement and 2 different kinds of escrow agreements. In addition to that, there is a purchase agreement that the association will enter into directly with the right of rights buyer, but that...
This association?
Yes, each one.
Well,
And that's because you will own, the association will own the 2.02 acre feet of water rights at the end, so you have to actually have ownership of those water rights. The way it's set up, though, is the Interstate Stream Commission, once it's all entered, it wires the money into the Tierras de Taos title account where it sits, and until the whole deal is done. Now, the seller that's right now, the deal is they're going to sell it to us, but as soon as you don't approve it, we don't have to get the water rights. So it's gonna be a long process. I mean, it's a good deal for the associations. And the water rights are good water rights. And, but basically, at some point when all these agreements have been signed, and this is just authorizing Lower Des Moines to sign the agreement on your behalf. That's all it is. And it's not the purchase agreement. The board will have to sign the purchase agreement for the water rights, but they don't put up the money. The money comes through the title company pursuant to the escrow agreement that was signed by Lower Des Moines on behalf of all the other associations. There's a statute, and you know, if you look at it, it's just legal.
But
Yeah, I know.
at the end of the day, what it means is when you get your water rights, if you decide to want to own more water rights, you'll get to pump 2 acre-feet more of water out of your well for distribution.
Right.
And get more members hooked up. Now, 1 acre-feet of water is about 300,000 gallons a year. So you get to pump about an extra 600 plus gallons per year for distribution in your own
Mr.
system.
Chairman, I mean,
You have the right to drill the well now. This has nothing to do, this will go into the association's wells. I mean, that's all it does. It goes into,
so we could then decide association to grant your water rights, because then we know we have more rights.
yes, exactly. It will enable you to have more memberships and hookups, which will also allow you to have a lower payback cost for paying back the loans that the association has entered. I mean, that's what a lot of them see. The more you can have hookups, then the more the members help pay for all the capital costs. And it used to be you could get those capital costs in the form of grants, but as you know now, you guys have assumed a lot of loan and debt. And the only way to pay it back is to either raise your rates or get more members. It's supply and demand. The association will have to sign its own purchase agreement, and they'll have to sign its own application with the state engineer, because it will be an application to change the place and purpose of use of the water rights you've acquired into the association well. And once the application's been approved or not approved by the state engineer, probably approved by the state engineer, and if any appeals are gone, then it's your water rights forever. The JPA, all of this thing, it dissolves, it terminates, it's like it never was. It has a very explicit purpose. That's it. Yeah,
I
yes.
just had a question.
Yeah.
Who's that? So the title company is the only people that are making money out of this?
They're going to make some for the fees. Now, there is going to be a hydrologist that's going to have a contract, and he'll do that. And there will be, it called for a project manager, but here's the sad thing. I've already done the work as a project manager, didn't have a contract, and haven't been paid a dime. So I'm not going to be making a lot of money, contrary to what people have said. I'm not in here for the money. I can promise you that. If I was, I would have left a long time ago. And I resent anybody that says that if they don't know me and what I've done in this community. I can tell you what, anyway. So it's nobody's making that money. The title company will make something, we don't know what they're going to charge us, but it's not like closing on a real estate, because there's not going to be a title search. There's not going to be this and that. It's going to be, they have to have their employees put it in their accounts and do their accounting, and they're the ones that will actually, once the Interstate Stream Commission wires it to their account, they're the ones that will issue the checks to the water rights seller, to the hydrologist. That's how it's going to be. It's not going through association accounts.
Barry,
Yes.
how come Upper Hondo and Lower Hondo were left out of the executive board?
Because when we talked about the MOU, it's just because nobody wanted to come do it. We had a meeting 2 years ago, Fernando, at the Ag Center about how we're going to set up this structure. And I think the only person from Hondo that came was Tom Harris.
I was with him.
No, you were not, because you're not on the sign-in sheet, Pam. I went and looked at all the sign-in sheets. So, but nobody at that time, they said, okay, the associations that are getting the much are all those ones down south. It's Llano Quemado, Talpa, Cañon, and then Upper Des Moines and El Salto. They figured, well, the ones that are getting the most, they have the most incentive to get it, because they're the ones that are in trouble with the state of New Mexico right now. They have the incentive to go to attend monthly board meetings to do this. That's how it was set up. And there's been monthly board meetings. There's only been like 1 or 2 months that we hadn't had one. And they set it up, and it said when they're going to meet, which is, I can't remember always that they would tell me the 3rd or 4th Wednesday of every month. So it's not like anybody's trying to be excluded. It was to help busy people not have to clutter themselves having more meetings. It's as simple as that. It's nothing nefarious.
Well, I think the consensus of the membership, they don't want the water rights. We don't need them in the first place.
Well, that might be, Fernando, but
That's different.
I mean, I'll just say that you entered into the agreement, Hondo entered into this agreement, and the way the law is set up, it's the board that makes these decisions, not the membership. Now, I mean, that's just the way it is. That's the Sanitary Projects Act. The way it's set up is the members elect the board, and then the board has all the powers to do everything. I brought the law if you want to see it. And this is, and nobody's going to say that's not the law. So, wait, Mr. Andy.
I guess my question would be, if we came out so well, first go around with our forefathers that did all the good work and made sure that we had enough water rights given to Hondo, priority over Des Montes, Valdez, everybody else upstream, why are we such an important link in this joint powers agreement?
You're not an important link. If you don't do it, the other one's just going to go on and leave you behind.
Well, I think you're talking on priorities from the acequia.
Yeah,
but that's what she said that we signed
Some of
off.
us have priority.
No, you signed off on the Abeyta agreement.
Oh, right.
You did.
Which was the acequia association.
No,
not the
Upper
mutual.
Hondo, you want me to bring the papers with Fernando's signature twice? I have them.
He signed with the mutual sign in 2000.
It was a mutual too, though.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, they all signed. I mean, this is not trying to relitigate stuff. It was all settled.
Right.
And you know, I don't want to be disrespectful.
Be disrespectful. It doesn't bother me.
No, because I know you have some concerns about things, and
Definitely.
there's nothing wrong with having concerns. And I know you fought a lot of battles, including, the Save the Hondo. Believe it or not, I was there too. You just didn't know me then.
Okay.
I wasn't a lawyer then. I became a lawyer to kind of help figure out things, because if you don't, people can get run over. And in this case, the mutual domestics all over the state of New Mexico got run over, Andy. I mean, I'll tell you, not just Taos County. You go to any county. And who didn't get run over? The big towns. But that's another story. So that's what, it's not a link. If you really don't want this extra water rights, you don't have to have it. But it will enable you in the future, should you want your grandkids to have a hookup and not have to go get people to retire ag land, that's where it's going to come from. That's just, it's for growth in your community, and I see it there's a few newcomers that have moved in and joined, but there's also, as far as I know, you all have kids and grandkids, and you probably want them all to stay here, and you probably all want them to have a water hookup rather than their own well. That's the purpose of this. It's as simple as that, really. It's no nefarious anything.
All right.
Stan?
I have a couple of questions in a row. You said in the answers to me about the mitigation well.
Took me 3 hours to do those answers.
Yep.
I'm going to charge the association.
You said that Phoenix signed it on September 26th. And then I have another one where he signed on June 6th, and it's not in our minutes.
What mitigation? We're not talking about any mitigation well.
You said, I have attached the application for 2.02 feet.
That's not a mitigation well. That is an application for buying water rights.
And I was asking you a question about the mitigation well.
And I think I said in that this has nothing to do with the mitigation well,
You know
Pam.
what? Don't argue. Can you just
No, Pam, I know what I wrote.
Let's not get out of hand.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Felix.
What I'm saying is that the 2.02, you didn't mention, you only mentioned Fred's signature. You didn't mention Felix's signature.
Well, because Pam, you're mixing apples and oranges. Listen, I'm talking about the Abeyta settlement, which obviously you all have a problem with.
Okay.
No, wait, just a minute. Just a minute, Pam. I'm sick of you interrupting me. You pay me a lot of money to be here. You should use my time well.
Wait
just a minute.
I am the one asking the question.
And I'm telling you that you're mixing apples and oranges.
Okay, I am asking you a question about what you said here.
Give me what I said and I'll tell you.
The other one, just a minute.
Here, Mary.
Yeah, give it to me because I didn't bring that.
I know, it's number 3. I was just.
The other one was a resolution giving, it is hereby approved and enters into the memorandum of understanding between Canyon Mutual Domestic, El Salto, Llano Comado, Lower Arroyo Hondo, Lower Des Montes, they're all there. This was never in our minutes. It didn't come to the board.
Yes,
Sam, I was at the meeting where you signed it.
Oh, that was the meeting that you sent everybody out.
No, Pam, look at the date. That was on March 7th
June
of last,
6th. It is
of last year.
16.
Not 17.
16, Pam.
It is not.
Look at the writing on the drawing. I'm sorry, Pam.
It was not in our minutes. It was
All
not
right,
approved
okay.
by our
All
board.
right, that's it. That's it.
If I may,
I'm not through.
all right.
Let her go. Just let her go on.
The association would only pay the costs of pumping, and this has to do with the big well, evidently.
This is about the mitigation, but this is not what we're talking about
Okay,
tonight.
but I have a question about it, Mary.
We are
But
not,
that's
we
not
are
what
not
we're
talking,
here about
we're
today,
not
Pam.
talking about the mitigation
It
wells.
has to do with the
No,
JPA.
it does not. All we're trying
No,
to do
it
is
does
get
not,
2.02. It doesn't.
What wells are you talking about then, of putting water into the wells?
The two existing wells that you have.
From where?
From where?
From where are you going to put it in, the mitigation well?
No.
This isn't the
This
mitigation.
isn't the mitigation well, Pam.
We're just
Your
getting-
association already has two wells, correct?
Yes.
We're just
And
gonna-
your point of diversion will go into is the two wells that you already have that exist
We're just gonna-
today.
So what we're doing is getting more water.
That water would be sent through a separate distribution system than that used in the association domestic purposes. Release of any water into the system would have to comply with Clean Water Acts. The cost of pumping would be paid by the town of El Prado, the town and El Prado, in ratio to the quantities used.
Pam, you're mixing apples and oranges. That's about if you get a mitigation well. You do not have a mitigation well. You cannot move water rights into a well you do not have.
Okay, then I'm going to ask you a question. If they get a mitigation well here, if we get a mitigation well here, because I have 3 generations, I had 4 generations. So if we get a mitigation well here, are we responsible for caretaking or anything? You talk about a sinking fund.
No, if you read, Pam, there's a
I did
sinking
read
fund
it.
for operation, maintenance, and that what you would do, if there is a well, which there is not, just remember that, if there is, it would be set up so that part of it could pump into your distribution system. That would be a separate thing than the one that pumps into the Asaka, because you have separate water quality issues that you have to deal with. Okay? That hasn't been, okay, that part of it. You
What
would,
system?
just a minute.
What system? You're not making it clear. What system? The
Your
Asaka
distribution,
system.
the Upper Arroyo Hondo Mutual Domestic has a distribution system that goes through your tank, that goes through first the radiation removal and into your tanks, correct?
Yes.
So, okay.
2 wells.
You have 2 wells, that's what it does. If you ever got a mitigation well, it would have a pipeline from that well into your system that you have now, your radiation removal system, whatever cleaning systems, and into your tank. If the association would only be responsible for pumping the water that it used for its purposes. It wouldn't be responsible for anything else. The operation and maintenance of it is, if there would probably be a small part of that if the association pumped a lot more than for the mitigation well side of it. But, that's an unknown. But, I mean, Pam,
You guarantee we wouldn't be responsible for the upkeep or the maintenance?
I'm not going to.
We are not.
It's not even talking about that, Pam. That's another
mitigation
thing.
well. It's a whole different issue.
We're only here about the JPA.
Clear, so
And did all the other associations sign but us?
No, Lower Hondo hadn't signed. I guess they got the same zombie mind. But, no. But everybody else has. All the big ones have, yeah.
So, okay, can I get this straight? This additional 2.02 extra water that we have?
It'll be about 650,000.
Where would it come from?
The ground. Same place around the water up here now.
2.2.
So in other words, the way it works is, right now we're allowed so much to pump out.
Right.
And we have a little extra to pump out. But let's say, in time, let's say years later down for grandkids or whatever, it's, the water is getting used more and more and more, and all of a sudden, oh, we're getting close to, oh, we can't give no more membership. Let's say your grandkids wants to move down here and there's not enough water pumping out. With this 2.02, that gives us extra water.
It probably lets you have another 10 connections, realistically. I mean, you know, because people here don't use much water, do they? No.
Surprising how much water people use.
Yeah, so
Are they watering their lawns? No. That's all this
Does
is.
that make sense to you? Yeah, and really, you know, like all this, it's already paid for and everything. It's a done deal. It don't matter if we take it or not. It's a done deal. You know, if we don't take it, we lose it. If we take it, we gain it. You know, it's already paid for. All we're getting is...
It's in the
Now,
process.
that water is cleaned and everything?
Yeah.
Okay, and does it have uranium in it?
Probably, because it'll be coming out of where our
so
concern
Coming out of the
is
same
it-
wells.
Right,
It's coming out of
Is
the
it
same-
gonna be cleaned up a little bit more?
It'll be cleaned up a little bit more as time goes. Right now, we're still playing with it. Right now, we're at 6.
But why do you let any of it be in there if you can do it?
Because if not, the cost is going to be higher for the members. We're trying to keep the fees down.
But you want to start paying the board?
No, I don't think so.
I heard that in the last meeting.
It's a difficult issue for small towns where you have radios and radio nuclides in the water. This is not the only town that does
Oh, I
that.
know that.
I mean, it's just, how do you balance it so you can afford it?
Right.
But, I mean, it's meeting the state standards, so that, you can at least know that.
Is that qualifying, I mean, the state standards?
Well, there's
Any state?
No, it's all the federal Safe Drinking Water Act. The state of New Mexico has to comply with Safe Drinking Water Act. Their regulations are basically, the CFR is actually federal regulations with all the criterias and the exceedances of what you can have in your water. I mean, if you want me to, if you go to the administrative code of New Mexico, you can see it, but it's basically they've taken the Safe Drinking Water federal regulations and imported. They all have to meet that.
Every state.
Every state.
You get a copy of the last CCR report for Upper Arroyo Hondo, because everything's in there, the quality of water.
Yeah, they have to do it, yeah.
What the violation of what is and what they're doing.
But if you wanted to take all of the things that aren't really good for us out, then it would cost a lot of money to do that, right?
Probably.
It's already costing us a lot of money. Excuse me, may I raise mine?
I raised my
Go ahead.
Because you're not a chemist or a biochemist, I spoke to Eric, and I don't know how many of you know Eric and Nora up in Valdez, but he was a biochemist for 50 years. I can't believe it.
Hey,
You know what? I'm sorry, Pam.
Wait, I'm following up on what she
We are not
said.
talking of...
Okay, I'm following up on what she said. And he said that the reason they don't have research is because it's too dangerous, even having 1%, too dangerous to work on human beings. And I'm sorry, but Mary is not a chemist.
No, and I'm not a regulator either, and right now I know that your water association meets state regulations, that's all we can go by.
Felix signed off a request for the form for Chevron.
So,
Did
yeah.
you sign off?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
You approved it. All right.
Was it in the minutes?
Yeah, it was in the minutes. Okay. If there's any more questions, we're going to go to discussion by the board.
That 2.02 acre feet, how does it compare with everybody else, like Des Montes?
Well, we have the lowest.
We have the lowest.
Yeah, because what they're trying to do is make it, excuse me, may I? Basically, what they're trying to do is make everything equitable so that everybody's got about the same amount. We had a larger amount of water than other people, and so this is just the way to even it out so that we're all have some sort of parity depending on our population, etc. So
Yeah,
that's what.
And in addition, it makes it equitable that the town of Taos got. You know, cities, they say, they've always said cities should, for some reason they think city people should have more water than rural people. And this is really based on that calculation of what a household, a family of four should
They
have.
flush their toilets, we don't.
I have a memo that says those people don't need that.
Is that it for questions? Okay, now we're gonna go to discussion by the board about the GPA. Dan, anything to say?
Yeah, I'm still concerned that we're not a member of the board that oversees everything, especially if they're talking about in the future putting in a mitigation well. SACO refused that. There are 2 wells up there. And they did a lot of research on it. And it showed that it's going to be very expensive to their community down the line.
Okay.
I believe that we have to look in the future now about our next generation, because I mean, we're gonna need all this, like for our kids to, you know, more water rights or to have more opportunities. I think it's a good thing. To me, I think so.
I agree with Manuel. I think for the betterment of the whole community, for association, I think we should get them special so we don't have to pay for them.
I can't see that it's a bad idea. It's free water. We don't have to pay for it. It's the only time we're probably going to get that in our lifetime. In addition, Pam's concerned about the board doing something. Pam can always go to the board meetings and sit in on them. It's nothing that says that we cannot go to the board meetings. So, you know, and they're open because they're run by the Open Meetings Act. So at any point, if you are concerned as a board member, you should then go to those meetings.
And I feel that this is a good thing later down the line. Might need them, might not, but just having them, you know, something good for our kids later on, grandkids. It's free. It's a done deal anyway. Can't go wrong.
Have you checked into the kind of chemicals they're going to put in to clean the water?
This is just acquiring 2.02
In other
water
words,
rights. That's all we're doing.
we'll be able to pump 2.20 more acre feet out of our 2 current wells, which we all drink the water.
Yes.
And
where does it say that in the memorandum that you signed? It doesn't say that.
that resolution that you were talking about was the resolution for us to have the county as our fiscal agent. That was what that was for.
It's the JPA. So
we haven't signed the JPA, Pam.
This sounds like the JPA to me. And
well, if you sit here, read the word Taos County. That was back, and we all sat in board meetings in March, discussed this, etc.
They're not.
I sent you
They are not in the minutes.
No.
Anyway, but that was to join the MOU with the county. That was what that was signed off on. We have not signed off on the joint powers agreement yet. Okay, do I?
End of discussion?
Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
There, motion to approve.
I move that we approve the JPA.
I second this.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Okay. 4, 1. Okay.
That's it? That's it. Meeting adjourned.
No, you gotta have a motion to adjourn.
Only motion to adjourn?
Just want to keep you.
I make a motion
You don't have to, you're not on board.
Oh, Manuel is my usual. He's always the first one to want to.